Hey, what's up? Silas here. This video I'm going to be talking about dreaming and making money from trees. So recently I've been doing this thing where I have these ear what are they called? Those little soft kind of spongy things you can put in your ear to cancel out noise. They normally give you these things when you fly on planes. I'm forgetting the name. The name is escaped me right now. Excuse me. Sorry if I think about it. I shall mention it later or add it somewhere in this. But you put these things in your ears and then you can sleep rather soundly. Now, I've been splitting my time over the last couple of years between New York City and here in Nairobi, Kenya. And in Nairobi, Kenya, I'm kind of in the suburbs. I'm not in the city area. But then when you're in New York City, you have the sound of the city itself, waking you up at certain times in the morning. Now here in Kenya, I'm going to be quiet for a bit and see if you can hear any of this. Okay, I hope you could hear some of that. Maybe I'll try to put the volume up and see if you can do it at the end of the video or something. But there's dogs barking. There's a school behind me, so there's the school kids coming to school rather early, around 6:30, or they start coming there. There's people walking around the neighborhood. There's a road passing back there, so occasionally some cars and trucks and things like that pass by. The birds are surprisingly loud. You really consider some people may not have experienced living in a place where there's regular birds and trees, but here there's all kinds of birds. The small songbirds, then you have the bigger birds like cranes and this hibiscus something. I forget what the name of it. Hibiscus crane or something. Caw, caw, it makes a noise like that. But you have these things in your ear and they cancel out the sound. They cancel out the sound of outside. And then I've heard of other people going even further to sensory deprivation chambers. I don't know if anyone has ever heard of those or if anyone knows them, but the sensory deprivation chambers where they go in a situation where it takes out pretty much all the sound. You can get to the point where you can lay in there in floating in water so you feel like you're suspended. All the light is taken out. So you can get to the situation where you actually don't hear anything at all besides your thoughts, your breathing. You're just in a meditative kind of state. And in that sense, I think you can get some really deep dreaming. You can get some really deep sleeps and get really in touch with yourself and your inner being or whatnot. I know a lot of people in the United States of America or other places in the world, and I'm not just saying the United States of America, also go with like blackout shades and things like that, especially if you're living in a city. But yeah, here the sun comes up regularly every day. There's no changing of time zones. It's pretty much always 6 to 6:30. So your body also gets in a rhythm of knowing that this is the time when the rest of the world is waking up around me. Then I wake up around you at that time. Now, I've noticed one thing when I've been wearing these. Jeez, I can't remember the name. It's really bugging me. I looked it up because I thought of making this video or just talking about those things, but I still can't remember. So you put those things in your ear, and then it's a lot more silent. And I seem to have been dreaming more actively. Now, I don't know if it's just because I'm at a time in my life where I'm trying to figure out a lot of things, and I think my dreams help me do that in a way. And but anyway, I've been dreaming a lot more, and then I'll wake up after a dream or something and then take them off and try to hear what's going on outside and see the difference of kind of how it's not harder to go to sleep, but I find that I don't dream as much when there's the other noise outside, when I'm taking in signs and things from outside. And now, okay, going back to the dream thing. So what I'm talking about here was the dream thing. How this whole idea, I did a previous video about the American dream and how it's been part of what the United States of America does. Now, I saw some coverage of the Oscars and they had more of that, oh, we're dreamers and we stand with you. And I'm like, no, no, no. I prefer the American reality. The things about the American reality to me are what I appreciate. And I think there was a Gary Oldman speech where he was talking about that, where he was talking about how much he appreciates living in America, how much he appreciates the things that it's given him. And the reaction from the crowd was a lot more subdued, to say the least, than in other situations. Whereas for me, that's the reality that I appreciate. I appreciate the people that I've met. I appreciate the things that I've done, the possibilities. And I think there is something about this whole thing where I put these things in my ear, where you go to a sensory deprivation state and you can dream better. Now I'm saying, if you're focusing on these dreams, how positive is that for your life? How much can you actually get done if you're focusing on dreams? I think it's a lot easier to dream when you're in a sensory deprived state, when you're not actually focused and understanding what's going on in reality. So for me, I'm thinking, hey, a lot of these people who are saying, oh, we're dreamers, oh, we're this, oh, we're that, I understand why the celebrities would say that. They themselves are in a sensory deprived state. They're living in certain bubbles where they don't really have much in common with the most of the United States of America. And now that's a similar thing with a lot of the people who are saying, oh, we're dreamers, or we're migrating, we're doing this situation. If you're not coming to a situation where you're integrating into the fabric of the country, you're not in touch with the reality of what Americans have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. You have these small little enclaves of communities where they're not in touch with the regular American. They don't really understand what the United States of America is. And there's this one guy that commented on one of my videos where I was talking about, hey, if this is racist, then that is racist. Talking about how you have some people saying, oh, the white community is being targeted by not having kids. That I said, if that was racist, then Laura Ingraham saying something about LeBron James having to shut up and dribble, that's also racist. But in that comment section, I was pointing out that, okay, none of those things are racist, first of all, but I was pointing out how you get into a situation where you go to Europe, you go to places like this, and people aren't necessarily the same. It's not one huge unison thing. They have different cultures that people integrate in. If you go to these cultures, if you go to these places, you go to those countries, and you only go to the cities, you go to the main capital city, you're not actually going to see what that country is about. You're not going to see what most of those people are like. It's a similar thing in the United States of America. People go to think New York, think LA, think Washington, D.C., and they think, oh, I know United States of America. That's part of it, but even people in those countries, in those cities, I mean, they will often tell you, oh, wow, you're from New York. It's really hard for me to meet somebody from New York here. Or you go to some of these bigger cities and people are like, well, yeah, there's not too many natives here because most people leave the areas. And on top of that, people think, oh, I'm in New York City. I know somebody from Oklahoma. I know somebody from Iowa. I know somebody from Israel. I know somebody from this and this. And they think, wow, so that makes me a lot more cosmopolitan. I really know a lot of how the world is. But some of the main reasons those people left the areas they're in is because they're not typical of the people who stay in those areas. If somebody leaves small town USA, they probably had something about their personality and the way they approach the world that made them not want to stay there, made them not necessarily fit in that area, or not be indicative of the person that would live there. So you kind of have to go somewhere and live there, and not live there, but at least go there and experience the people there, integrate with the people there, talk to the people there, communicate with the people there to kind of understand what those people kind of think like and what those people are kind of like. And I think a lot of that is missed out when people don't really do that as much as they could and should to truly understand a place. So you have these people in these places who are dreaming. They're dreaming about the countries that they're in. They're dreaming about the possibilities of the realities of what can happen in those places. And dreaming is not necessarily a bad thing. You can figure out some things. It can make you think of some things in some other ways. But you have to wake up eventually and realize that, hey, this isn't a dream. This is reality. This is what we're working with. Well, it's a beautiful day over here. The long rains are ending right now. So that's it on the dream section of this. Now I'm going to get into the whole, what's it called? Part of money from trees. Okay, so next is this saying that money doesn't grow on trees. I disagree because in many ways it kind of does, and in some ways almost literally. But we'll get to that. So this is an avocado tree. This right here is an avocado tree. And occasionally, avocados will drop from the tree and come down and hit the ground. Sometimes they'll be too small. They'll be little tiny ones. My hands are dirty. I've been picking up some. Maybe I'll play the video of what I was picking up. And sometimes they're little small avocados and you can't really eat them. Even if you keep them in the kitchen or you keep them away, they're not going to actually ripen to the point where you can actually eat them. But even with the small avocados, you can take those seeds from the avocados and actually grow those seeds and get more trees, sell the seedlings, or sell the actual seeds themselves. There might actually be other things you can do actually with avocado seeds. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some recipes of actually cooking avocado seeds and finding them to be somewhat nutritional. I would not be surprised about that. May look that up. Next, you have a situation where sometimes bigger ones will fall down. The larger ones, which some of them are rather large in some situations, you will have them fall down. Sometimes they look like they're okay, but then they'll hit the ground and they'll crack open a bit. And then you'll see maybe ants have entered them, or even sometimes you'll have birds come down and peck at them and eat them. Or even this cat that randomly walks around here, that sometimes the cat will actually be nibbling a bit on it. So you have that kind of situation where you can get those, but sometimes they can actually be okay and whole, and you can take those and you can go sell them. Now, because they literally grow on trees and fall off trees and things like that here in Kenya, here in Nairobi, you have a situation where you get these smaller ones in the United States of America, and I saw packages for like 4 small ones for like $5. Here you get one, you can get a large, massive one that's almost at least half of what those things, the flesh or the fruit flesh of those actual avocados that you get in the United States of America for 4 for $5. Here you get them for 50 cents sometimes. I mean, less than $1 at least. You're not going to be spending more than $1 on an avocado here. Even this one really massive one I saw in the store. I'll have photos below to these massive avocados. So anyway, you have that kind of situation where if you get those, you can sell those, you can make money. If you go even further and you say, okay, now I'm going to get some kind of contraption with like a long stick and some snippy thing, and then I have them cut off the tree and then I catch them, or I find a way to climb up there, I find a ladder, I go to that extra time, then I can harvest them directly. Now, even the ones that fall off the tree, if they're not completely eaten up by ants, you can kind of carve out the parts that are eaten up by ants and birds, and the other part might still be worth eating. You might still have some nutritional value. You could probably eat it, but it's a lot harder to sell it in that sense. I guess you could make like a salad of sorts and people don't know exactly where it came from, but if it's still healthy, it's still healthy. But at least you can eat them at your house, and you can save that 50 cents or whatever when you like buying stuff from outside. So you get to that situation where that's one way you can make money. Another way is you can make literal money. You can get the tree and then you can pulp it down and you can make paper. And then that paper can be used to actually make money out of it. Although I think money now has gone to like the digital sense, but there's also a lot of cotton and things like that. But this is just going on the whole like money doesn't grow on trees thing. Like literally the tree might not be money. Even just having shade and then having some place where you can have things under and relax and charge people for whatever. But having a house that has a lot of trees on it in the compound may raise the value of that house. Yet you have some situation where I just saw some people cutting down some trees on the other side in this neighborhood. Now you'll have some situation where somebody might make money from being able to have a tree that's grown, and then they have their own company. One of my boys has a company. If you're in the Washington, D.C. area or things like that, Maryland area, one of my boys has a tree cutting company. If you ever need some trees cut, hit him up. I might leave links below to his Instagram or something. But anyway, so you have a situation where this can also, the tree growing itself, literal trees just growing, can make somebody money by them not wanting those trees growing anymore. So there's many different ways to make money off of trees literally growing. So yes, I do think money does grow in trees. Now it's about how you look at it. It's about being able to make something out of it. And that's why I go against this whole thing where people say, oh, these people from this country, like Africa has been stolen by Asians, has been stolen by the colonialists. They came and they took the resources and they did this and this. I'm like, no, the trees were growing. The resources were here, but things weren't being done with it. If somebody comes and finds access to this place and these avocados are just dropping on the ground, and then they're like, hey, why don't I take these avocados and do something with it? Are they stealing from me because I just let these avocados go on the ground? I mean, technically, yes, I do get private property. It's your property and things like that. But when you go to a state of nature, when you just go, these are just natural resources that are out there, that are not being used, that are not fenced off, that are not somebody's property, and then somebody else does something of it. Now, if the people who own this compound decide to say that, hey, okay, I'm living here, sure, but I'm not doing anything with these avocados. And then somebody else comes to them and then they say, hey, can I pay you a small amount to have the rights to go out and get those avocados and take them out of there? I can't go out and say that person is stealing avocados from me because I live on this compound. No, I haven't done anything with the avocados. The people who own that land have gone into an agreement with the person who wants to do something with the avocado tree, and they have gone into that situation. A lot of times in Kenya, in Africa, you have that kind of situation where some leaders who may be corrupt or not, I'm not saying they're all up on the board. Some of them do have issues. Some of them do make bad business deals. Some of them are just interested in their own interests because they don't really care that much about the other people out there. But they make those transactions themselves. If a Kenyan decides to buy 5,000 acres of land and then sell it to another country, to China or something, China, and then China decides we're going to ship all the food that we get from here. If we find oil under this, we own the land, we're going to ship all that oil to China. Then China is not taking advantage of Kenyans. That Kenyan decided to sell that land, own that land. Someone in the Kenyan government in the state gave that Kenyan the land deals. There could be corrupt situations in there, but it's not just somebody from abroad coming in and stealing what's not theirs. Now, to finish off, tie this in with the whole Oscar thing at the start. One thing that's really odd about this, you have this situation where like diversity is the winner of the night. We have all these people from all these different countries. We have all these different races. We have all these this and that. And then they're talking about that situation. And then I also think, do you ever get a situation where Americans in the flyover states, the average American, as I was talking about, not the ones in the big cities, but even the big city ones, they could get to a situation where they say, these are an awards show in our country, in the United States of America. These are celebrities making millions of dollars, making a lifestyle amount of money with the resources in the United States of America much higher than most Americans. Do they ever get to a situation where they say, these foreigners are stealing our roles? They're using our resources. They've come and colonized our movie theaters. They should give back. They should give these roles to Americans. People don't say that. Like, it's a very loud bird, but people don't say that. But you have situations in other places where they say the natural resources being taken from these developing countries are being taken in a wrong way from the first world countries. Sure, you have an argument for that back during colonialism, but even when you go to the colonialism thing, it actually turns out that colonialism was a net negative financially for most of the colonial countries, which is part of the reason why they stopped. Sure, there's a few people on the top that were actually benefiting some way, but as it goes, most of the people, most of the Wananchi, most of the citizenry, your average person in the United Kingdom was not monetarily benefiting from colonialism in Africa. It was actually a net negative for the entire state, for the entire apparatus. So just thinking about that, money does grow on trees depending on what you do with the trees. We need to wake up to the reality, face the realities of things. And yes, dreaming about something, you could come up with an idea, but then you have to take those, I still haven't looked up the name of those things. You have to take them out of your ear, you have to face reality, get out of your sensory deprivation chamber, and then see if your dreams can actually affect reality in a positive way for you and the people involved with your life. Yeah, that's it for now. Like, share, and subscribe. Links below to the merchandise store. Opened a Patreon. Might open a PayPal account too for anyone who wants to use that. Any support will be greatly welcomed. I'm going to try to get some more videos out with actual projects and actual plans for the future. I'm really excited for some of these things and looking forward to actually make money out of my trees in my mind. Drop seed. I don't know. And with that, goodbye. Yeah, to finish up here, think about something negative somebody has said about the place you live, and then think, can you actually back that up? Can you find some reasons to why that person may be right? And then now think about something positive you think about some other place, and think, do you actually have reason to believe? Have you actually backed up that thought or that idea that you have of that place? I think that would just be interesting. Let me know if you guys can come up with those. Either support for something negative about where you live or support for something positive about somewhere else.